Now, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and every day we're looking at how mental health is impacting on young people. Today, we're looking at why many over 18s in higher education are experiencing mental health difficulties.
Figures show 2 out of 3 students say they feel down at some point during their studies, and more than half say they wouldn't be able to tell someone that they're not coping. Our health correspondent Nancy Cole can explain.
It's almost lunchtime, so the Students' Union at Leicester University is starting to fill up. Katie has her head in the books with summer exams looming. Last year, though, the 21-year-old's head was in a very different place.
First year was so good, but then starting second year, I just noticed immediately that I just wasn't as comfortable anymore. We moved into a new house. I just wasn't settling in. My behaviour just seemed to just completely change, and it was just completely out of my control. I just wasn't comfortable anymore in lecture theatres, so I'd start skipping my classes and just not getting up in the morning because I just couldn't face it.
Katie went to student support services for help and even saw her university GP, but she said she was still struggling to cope.
I knew that the only way that I could finish off my degree to the best of my ability was to take a break.
Katie's experience isn't uncommon. Nationally, figures reveal 20% of students consider themselves to have a mental health problem. 2 out of 3 say they feel down at some point during their studies, and over 50% don't feel comfortable admitting they're not coping to someone else.
You're paying a lot of money to hopefully get a good degree that's going to hopefully get you a good job, and then everything that comes along with that, all the extra work, all the extra experience, the experience you need for experience, on top of just the day-to-day having to live in a completely new environment. You do need someone to talk to. Everyone needs someone to talk to.
Harriet graduated last year but stayed on this year to head up the Students' Union welfare team, running events to promote wellbeing. This laughter yoga session was organised to encourage students to take time out for themselves. A popular sign-up with those here. Many within the higher education sector believe this willingness from young people to look for help could be the reason demand for mental health services on campus has gone up.
I think inevitably there will have been in the past students who were struggling who didn't want to draw attention to themselves. I think there was a culture where some students, and I think in the past often boys more than girls, were resistant to perhaps owning up about some of the difficulties. The great thing now, I think, is that we're getting to a stage where people are willing to talk about the problems. Of course, what we've got to make sure is we get the balance right, that they get the right level of support at the time that they need it.
And universities like Leicester are getting more proactive in reaching out earlier on. At Coventry, they've started running workshops to teach staff and students how to spot the warning signs of mental health difficulties and how to help.
There are so many elements.
Initially, a pilot programme for nursing students. Now all those on healthcare courses and more than 200 members of staff have completed the workshop. It's part of the university's drive to raise awareness and normalise mental health across the campus.
You know, if you are concerned about someone, just have a really open conversation with them, and you never know, it could really, really help them and put them in a completely different mindset.
The importance of looking after our own well-being has never been so important, because this is actually where mental health difficulties start to occur, because we're not slowing down, we're not taking time out.
Back in Leicester, Katie's putting that message into practice. She's back at university full-time now after taking a year off, and says it's given her a positive outlook going into the final year of student life.
I'm able to kind of look at things from just a more stable point of view and think, you know, well, that's happened, that's okay, you know, because I've got all these other things that I do that kind of keep me on the right track.